That's right. Lewis Hamilton now follows 0 people on Instagram. Not his fans, not his rivals, and most shockingly, not even Ferrari, the very team he's about to race for. And he made that decision just days before the most pivotal race of their season at Imola, a race that could either mark the start of a comeback or the beginning of a full-blown crisis. Is it just a coincidence, a digital detox from a man under pressure, or is it something far more calculated, a silent public warning shot from a 7-time world champion who's no longer willing to play nice behind the scenes? Because when Hamilton unfollows Ferrari, when he cuts ties digitally with the very team preparing his future title bid, it isn't subtle, it's seismic. It's a message wrapped in silence, dropped like a flare right before a weekend where Ferrari is gambling everything on a new upgrade package, while the Tifosi demand blood, and the clock ticks louder with every passing lap. Add to that a stunning last-minute rule change from the FIA, one that reeks of backpedaling under pressure, and whispers of chaos swirling through the paddock in Maranello. And suddenly, this weekend isn't just another race, it's a reckoning. And if you're here for the real story, the raw drama, the political power plays, the strategies no one else is brave enough to talk about, then buckle up and stay locked in. Because this isn't just content, this is Formula One at full throttle. Subscribe, turn on the bell, and let's light the fuse. In a sport where image is everything, Lewis Hamilton has just erased his, or at least everyone else from it. Ferrari? Gone. His foundation? Gone. Even Roscoe's account? Gone. Hamilton now follows 0 people on Instagram. A total digital purge, right before Ferrari's most critical weekend of the season. And his first post after the blackout? A photo of his younger self, helmet on, eyes fierce. The caption, "The kid." Is it nostalgia? A reset? Or is it a message? A quiet scream from a driver who's beginning to wonder if the Ferrari fairy tale is already fracturing? Because let's be honest, 6 races in, 0 podiums, 7th in the standings. This isn't what he signed up for. And in Miami, we heard it. Sarcasm on the radio, frustration boiling over. "Have a tea break while you're at it," he snapped at his engineer. It wasn't just a joke. It was a pressure valve bursting. And now this, the unfollow. In F1, nothing is accidental. This is a statement, cold, calculated, and louder than words. Is he cutting out the noise or quietly turning away from a team that's already failing to deliver? The timing? Imola. Ferrari's home race. All eyes on Maranello. This move wasn't random, it was surgical. Either a tactical distraction or a very real signal of doubt. The kid is still in there. But the question is, can he survive the politics, the pressure, and the promise of a red suit that may never match the speed of his ambition? Because this isn't just about social media. It's about a mindset shift. And the tremors are being felt far beyond Hamilton's feed. Next up, what Ferrari's top brass just revealed, and why it might prove Hamilton's silence is only the beginning. The silence echoing from Lewis Hamilton's Instagram feed may be deafening, but it's the quiet that screams loudest, a vacuum pregnant with meaning. While the man himself remains publicly restrained, it is Ferrari team principal Frédéric Vasseur who finally breaks ranks, offering just enough insight to ignite a firestorm of speculation, hinting at a story far more complex than mere on-track performance, a tale of misalignment, miscommunication, and a brewing storm within Maranello's scarlet walls. Vasseur, ever the careful statesman, plays the diplomat's game, attempting to sand down the jagged edges of Hamilton's public radio bursts with a calm, almost fatherly tone. "I'm never upset with this, as long as we are able to have a good discussion after," he offers, acknowledging the chaotic cauldron of modern Formula One, where drivers, encased in carbon fiber bullets, hurtle through city circuits like Miami at speeds exceeding 330 kilometers per hour, negotiating millimeter margins between concrete barriers while simultaneously juggling real-time strategy, mechanical feedback, and the raw fury of competition. So perhaps, just perhaps, a bit of sarcasm over the radio is not only expected, but inevitable. But then, just as you think he'll retreat into the usual opaque team speak, Vasseur lets something slip. An unintentional reveal or a calculated breadcrumb, depending on your level of cynicism. He says Hamilton has, quite specifically, 3 complaints. He doesn't elaborate naturally. This is Ferrari, a team that guards its internal struggles with the same fervor it once reserved for the secrets of Enzo's office. Yet, for those of us attuned to the rhythms of this sport, to the coded language of the paddock, the clues are glaringly obvious, and the implications are massive. Complaint number 1? It almost certainly begins and ends with the car itself, specifically its balance, its predictability, or perhaps more accurately, the lack thereof. These current ground effect monsters, with their ultra-sensitive aerodynamics and merciless setups, are not forgiving machines. They reward precision and punish flair. And while Hamilton has built a legacy on transcending the limits of grip, extracting lap time through sheer finesse, the early signs suggest that this Ferrari, at least in its current incarnation, isn't speaking his language. Is it too skittish on turn-in? Too light at the front? Is the rear dancing under traction, refusing to plant when he leans on it? These are not academic concerns. They are the foundation of confidence, the invisible bond between man and machine. And when that trust falters, even a 7-time world champion begins to bleed tenths. Complaint number 2? Strategy, of course, strategy. It was impossible to miss the venom-laced sarcasm in Miami when Hamilton asked whether the team had taken a tea break during critical pit stop phases. That wasn't just heat-of-the-moment theater. That was a razor-sharp critique, a cry of frustration aimed squarely at the pit wall. Was it a misjudged undercut attempt? A delay in reacting to a rival's move? Staying out too long on rubber that had long since given up the ghost? For a driver who has sculpted victories not just with blistering pace, but with cerebral race-long calculation, to feel boxed in by reactive, second-best calls is more than annoying. It's disempowering, it's infuriating, and it undermines the very weapon that made him unbeatable during Mercedes' golden era. And then comes the third complaint, the one that digs deeper, that speaks to culture, to philosophy, to the soul of a team and the role of a driver within it. Hamilton, by all accounts, is not just a driver. He is a technician, a scholar of the sport, a man who doesn't merely report problems but dissects them, who doesn't say, "it's understeering," but explains why and how and when. So the real question becomes, is his feedback, his world-class, championship-hardened, empirically validated feedback, being taken seriously in Maranello? Or is it being diluted, lost in translation, stifled by layers of committee thinking, caught in the inertia of an organization that has, at times, seemed more beholden to tradition than to progress? Is Hamilton already sensing that the levers of development don't respond as swiftly as he needs? That the evolution of this machine might not bend to his vision with the urgency his pursuit of an 8th title demands? Vasseur, in a moment of rare candor, states, "They are not happy sometimes with the result or with the strategy or with the balance of the car, and they are live for millions of people." And then he adds, pointedly, "Most important for me is the content of the debrief. The debrief, that sacred post-race chamber where truth is laid bare, egos shelved, and performance forensically analyzed. But what exactly is being said in those hallowed rooms? Are Hamilton's frustrations being heard, internalized, and acted upon? Or are they being met with shrugs, deflections, or worse, misinterpretation? Because make no mistake, this is not a diva throwing toys from the pram. This is a man on borrowed time, a legend with one last summit to climb. Who knows the hourglass is running low on sand? He cannot afford a lost season, a wasted campaign where every race becomes an exercise in damage limitation rather than a shot at glory. He needs a car that dances to his rhythm, a strategy team that fights with fangs bared, and an organization willing to bend tradition in pursuit of greatness. And looming over all this is Vasseur himself, the man chosen to modernize Ferrari, to usher in a new era of calm competence after seasons of chaos. But managing Lewis Hamilton, especially a Lewis who is not winning, who is not even close to challenging for wins, is no ordinary task. It is a political, technical, and emotional high-wire act. Can Vasseur bridge the gap between ambition and execution? Can he mold this team around Hamilton without breaking it in the process? Or are these early, simmering complaints just the first rumblings of a full-blown earthquake that could fracture Ferrari from within? And just as tensions reach a boiling point between driver and team, the FIA steps into the spotlight with a rule change so unexpected, so oddly timed, it almost feels like satire, a new regulation targeting on-air swearing. Is it a well-intentioned move to preserve professionalism in high-pressure moments, or a clumsy, tone-deaf attempt to silence the very human emotion that makes this sport so visceral? The truth, as always in Formula One, is far more complicated and far more explosive. Just as the engines begin to roar louder, the drivers, the gladiators of this billion-dollar sport, have been handed a muzzle by the very institution meant to protect the soul of Formula One, as the FIA's controversial political neutrality clause, buried deep in the latest international sporting code, threatens to silence the most outspoken voices in the paddock under the guise of order and control. They say it's about avoiding division, about keeping sport sacred and separate from the noise of the world. But peel back the glossy language, and what you find is a chilling mechanism, an enforcement clause that enables the governing body to fine, suspend, or even dock championship points from any driver who dares to speak beyond the lines of approval. A move that feels less like governance and more like quiet authoritarianism. Mohammed Ben Sulayem may have smiled at Miami and insisted that drivers can say whatever they want. But in this sport, where every word has weight and every precedent sets the next battle in motion, smiles are cheap and clauses are concrete, and unless this code is rewritten or rescinded, the risk of being punished for conscience remains very, very real. And perhaps the most haunting question of all isn't whether drivers will speak. They will. It's what happens when one finally crosses the invisible line, and the FIA is forced to choose between its rules and its reputation. In the theater of Formula One, where every apex is a proving ground and every mistake is a headline, few storylines carry more gravity than that of Lewis Hamilton, a 7-time world champion, a titan of the sport, and now a man waging war not against rivals but against regression, against time, and against the creeping doubt that perhaps, just perhaps, his best days are behind him. Ever since the sport pivoted into the era of ground effect aerodynamics in 2022, Hamilton, the master of consistency, the king of rhythm, has found himself at odds with a car that fights him through corners, betrays him in braking zones, and robs him of the delicate dance between trust and instinct that once defined his dominance. Where Verstappen slices through circuits with mechanical harmony, Hamilton has wrestled a Mercedes that porpoises through straights, snaps at the rear, and blurs the line between driver error and engineering miscalculation. A car that demands compromises, concessions, and above all, patience from a man who has already given this sport everything. But if you thought the fire had dimmed, look again. Because Hamilton's recent declaration, a photo of his younger self with the caption "The Kid," wasn't nostalgia, it was a warning shot. A reminder that the man you're doubting built his empire from karting tracks and underdog seasons, and he's not done rewriting the script. And as he returns to Imola, a track laced with pain, history, and opportunity, there's a storm behind those eyes, not of desperation, but of defiance, the kind that makes legends burn brighter just before they rise again. Beneath the roar of the engines and the screams of downforce lies one of the quietest but deadliest games in Formula One, the eternal dance with tires, those fragile, temperamental strips of rubber that separate glory from disaster. And in Imola, they're about to take center stage in a way that could shake the entire pecking order to its core. This weekend, Pirelli has chosen to bring its softest compounds to a track not known for forgiving mistakes. And while it may look like a gift on paper, more grip, faster laps, dramatic overtakes, in truth, it is a trap dressed as a challenge. Because those tires will degrade like sand under pressure, and the teams that miscalculate by even a lap will find themselves hemorrhaging time, losing position, and facing a strategic nightmare with no easy escape. Ferrari, whose Achilles heel has long been tire management, may find themselves once again watching helplessly as pace turns to pain. And even Red Bull, mighty as they are not invincible here, especially when pushed into aggressive strategies by the likes of McLaren, who are quietly becoming the most tactically fearless outfit on the grid. And in a race that could devolve into a two-stop chess match, every decision, every pit call, every in-lap, every compound choice will carry with it the weight of the entire weekend, and the haunting knowledge that one wrong move could cost everything. This is no longer just about raw speed. This is about precision under pressure. And in Imola, where margins are thinner than breath, the rubber may decide who stands on the podium and who watches it slip away. So here we are. The calm before the storm, the circuit drenched in history and haunted by legends, the air thick with tension as the sport braces for a Grand Prix that could mark a turning point not just in the championship, but in the balance of power itself. Imola is no ordinary battleground. It is a theater of memory and meaning, a place where the past bleeds into the present, where every corner echoes with the ghosts of champions. And this weekend, it demands perfection from every team, every strategy, every moment of bravery or restraint. Red Bull arrives with a fractured aura, fast, yes, but no longer untouchable. While Ferrari smells blood in the water, spurred by home soil, political pressure, and the raw desperation to prove they are more than just pretty red cars with broken dreams. McLaren, sharp and rising like a blade from the shadows, could be the disruptors nobody saw coming, while Mercedes, still clawing their way back from the depths, hope that in the chaos of tire wear, weather, and one late safety car, there may yet be redemption waiting at the end of a flawless drive. And above it all hovers the weight of psychology, because a win here isn't just 25 points. It's momentum, it's morale. It's the kind of result that fractures dynasties or builds new ones, that breaks belief or fuels it. And in a sport where belief often makes the difference between greatness and defeat, this Grand Prix could tilt everything. Imola will expose the truth. No hype, no hiding, just raw, relentless racing. So buckle in, drop your predictions in the comments, and if you live for this level of F1 intensity, smash that like button and hit subscribe. The drama is far from over.